All right, so in the last video, we kind of talked more about inline styling, how to pull the styling out into a style sheet like so. And in this video, I want to kind of continue to build upon that knowledge that you learned about HTML and CSS and just keep building out this blog page. So down here where it says hello world, let's just go ahead and remove that. And we're going to start building out like a section here. So I could do another HTML tag called section, which I think I mentioned in the past. And that is a tag that you can basically just put whatever content that you want. It's really kind of similar to a div in terms of like styling. So if you know how a typical blog page looks, usually you have like your home page is going to have a bunch of different blog snippets or like previews. And that's what we're going to try to build out. So let's just go ahead and make a div here. And inside that div, let's put a couple of other things. First of all, we're probably going to need like a left and right. So very similar to how we did the header, we're going to have to use some type of Flexbox to maybe put an image on the right and then some text on the left, maybe a title. So first off, I'm going to give this div a class of, I guess, preview. Might be okay. And then inside of that, I'm going to nest two more divs. So this div over here is going to be for our image, and this div is going to be for our titles/content. All right, so the first thing we want to do is let's put some title in here. So I'm going to do like an H2, and I'm going to put a title of like a blog post maybe. So why you should learn JavaScript, period. So that could be maybe one of our blog posts title. And inside of that, you might want to have like some type of description here. So I'm going to go back and get some of that lorem ipsum. All right, so let's just put like some placeholder text here so that we have something to kind of work with. And then lastly, we probably want a link that says like read on or read more or something. So that the user clicks it, they can be redirected to the actual full post of whatever they're trying to read. All right, so that is pretty much the layout for the title and the content. Now what we need to do is basically put like a placeholder image. So let's go ahead and try to find one. All right, let's see if this will work. I'll grab this link over here, copy image address, and I'm going to put this in an image tag here. So I'm going to say image, and I'm going to say source is equal to that inside of quotes. And go ahead and end that tag here with the slash greater than sign. So now if I refresh the page, it actually is not working. All right, so here's the issue with trying to run HTML inside of Chrome without hosting it on a web server. There are some things that you can't fetch due to various security setups. So what I might need to do is either try to find a different image. Let's see if this one will work. If this one doesn't work either, I might just have to download it. Yeah. All right, let's just download like this one. So I'll say save. I'll do save image, and then I will go to my workspace. I will find that full stack project. All right, I'm gonna make a new folder called images, and I'm gonna save that as like javascript.jpg. All right, so now you'll see that we have an images folder over here with JavaScript JPEG in it. And that will allow us to actually target that. So I can do /images/javascript.jpg. So if you're not familiar with this format, this basically means take the current URL that we're at and append a /images to it, and then append a javascript.jpg to it. So that'll hopefully dive into that same directory structure and load that image. And as you can see, when we refresh the page, it shows up down here. So again, that was kind of a workaround. You can actually grab images from the internet I think if you host this web page locally using like a simple web server. But for right now, there's no issue with like just importing the image itself. All right, so let's just go ahead and add some classes to these so we can style them. So I'm going to go ahead and add like a class of preview image. And I'm going to add a class of preview title here. And then over here, I'll add a class of preview, what is this called? Snippet? I don't know. And then we can start styling this a little bit. So let's go up here to the top. And we are going to do a preview. And we want to basically make this be kind of Flexbox, right? So we want it to be left and right like we did with the header. I can say display of flex. Save that. And now it's going to be left and right. And then what we want to do is we probably want to make it so the image and the the content is more like not smushed. So on the image itself, I think we just want to scale it down a little bit. So I'm going to go over here to preview image, and I'm going to say max width, which is another property you just have to kind of learn and memorize. And I'll just put like 200 pixels for now and see what happens. All right, so that makes it look a little bit better. So our preview text is pretty big. I'm not sure if we want to maybe reduce it to a couple like less sentences. Let's just do like that. All right, so that looks a little bit nicer. I'm sure you can kind of sum up a summary in a sentence or two. So, you know, a better name for instead of snippet, let's just call it summary, because that's really what it is. It's a summary. Yeah, so I don't know if I need to actually style the summary or the title or not. I might just keep the default styles. But one thing I want to do is I want to center all this. So you see the image, it's kind of like pushed up to the top. It would be nicer if this image was centered kind of in the middle of this div here to the right. So one thing you can do with Flexbox is you can put in align items on the parent element that's displaying a flex. I can say align items, and I can say center. Now this should move all the content of the Flexbox container. Like all the children will be centered vertically now. All right, so another thing I want to do is the actual like section. There's like no space between the end of the page and my content. So it'd be nice if we added some padding to that. So I'm going to say class is preview section. And I'm going to go ahead and style that as well. So up here, I'll just add a dot, say preview section, and then I can say padding of, we'll do 20 pixels and see how that looks. Usually you want it to align maybe with the header, but it can be a little bit indented as well if you want. So that looks pretty good. So I think we don't actually need to put the second div here. We could potentially just do the same thing without wrapping that in a div because of the way Flexbox works. So I'm going to remove that second div we had wrapping the image. But sometimes you need to wrap elements in divs just so you can apply different types of styles to them. But in this case, that was just kind of extra stuff we didn't need. And for right now, let's just clean up the code a little bit because there's a lot of stuff that we haven't actually used in terms of like what we need to style. So I'm going to remove those two classes there and just keep it more simple. All right, so typically when you have a blog page, you're going to have multiple posts, right? So what you can do in HTML is just copy and paste this. If you're doing like a static site, we'll copy and paste it 3 times. And let's just make 3 different posts here. So why you should learn React could be one, or I'll say React is a cool library. Could be one title. And then the other one could be software engineering pays well. All right, so now we have 3 different posts completely. And what we want to do is maybe find 2 more images. So I'll do like one for React. That one looks pretty good. I'll save that image to my images folder, called react.png, and then I'll do software engineering. So software.jpg. And then going back to our previews, the middle div, this could be react.png. Save that. And this one can be called software.jpg. All right, so now we have 3 different posts that we're kind of previewing, and the user can click the read more button to maybe go read more about that post. So let's move on to another topic that I haven't actually mentioned yet, and that is how do you actually build out multiple pages? So I'm going to make a new index file, and I can call it like javascript.html. I'll say like, actually I'll call it post-javascript so we know it's a post. All right, so I'm changing my mind here. I'm going to make a new folder called posts. We're going to move that file in here, and I'm going to rename this to just JavaScript. All right, so what you can do is in VS Code, I haven't showed you this trick though, but you can do, I think, exclamation mark if you have Emmet installed. There's a plugin or extension called Emmet, and once you have it installed, you can kind of build out your HTML file real quick. And I'm going to keep it simple and not put any meta for you all, but I'll just do this. But I'm going to keep this simple just for you all. All right, so what I'm going to do for this page is we're basically making a new page, right? And if you wanted to preview that page, all we need to do is that when the user clicks on this read more button, you could redirect them to that link. So again, using relative paths like I did here, the dot slash, I could do href as dot slash posts slash javascript.html. And now when the user clicks on read more, it's going to redirect them to that JavaScript page, right? So if I were to actually go like put some text here, we see that it shows up. So now I can actually navigate back and forth between my posts and my previews and my dashboard. All right, so let's just keep on building upon this. Let's put this in the title, why you should learn JavaScript. And I'm going to go ahead, go to that page, and let's just put a bunch of lorem ipsum. So let's pretend like we have an actual like post all written out. So if I'm going to paste in that text here, and I'm just going to wrap all these in divs, in paragraph tags, so that they are going to be formatted with new lines. So just bear with me a second as I add those in. All right, let's see if there's a faster way to do this. I could do my multi-cursor select, do a paragraph tag, go to the end of that, save it. All right, so now we have a bunch of different paragraphs that look pretty good. And the reason it looks so small is because I'm zoomed out. I think I was like zoomed into like, I was 150 on the other page. So let's keep it consistent. I like to zoom in when I do my tutorials so that you can actually see stuff. So one thing you'll notice is that we probably want to put like a title on this as well. So if we go back in the body, I can add an H1 and just put that same title here. And then for different sections, we could just pretend like we have like subsections here. So I'll do like an H3 here, and that could be like JavaScript is fast. Oops, can't type. JavaScript is fast. Right? And then you might have like a section that talks about why JavaScript is fast. Or you might have something down here, JavaScript is modular. All right, so now we have like the basics of a blog post where people can go and read some content of yours. Maybe they can leave comments below. Maybe you want to embed some images or something like that. All right, sometimes you'll see a blog post that has like just random images throughout that blog page. So let's just see if I can do that real quick and see how it looks. I'll just put like the JavaScript picture again here. Let's see. So you'll notice that I did /images JavaScript and it's not showing up. Again, this is all relative pathing because since this HTML page is nested in a folder called posts, we actually need to go up a level in the directory. So you can do 2 dots to go up a level, and that will basically load the image for us. Another trick is you could just simply not put these slashes at all. I could just do images.javascript, and that's going to fetch, I believe, from the base of your... Actually, that probably won't work for us in this example because we're doing like local Chrome. But yeah, now we got an image here. It looks really big. So I'm just going to add a class here called like post image. And then we can style that. So inside the head, remember I said you could do like a style tag, and then you can do post-image to target that class. And then I can just say width is 100%. So that'll just make sure that the image doesn't scale to its full size. That'll make sure it's contained inside of the body. And I think we can also maybe, if you want to make it smaller, you could add like, you could do like 90% or something. But you'll notice that'll be kind of like aligned to the left. So let's just do 100% for now because that's easiest. By the way, as you scale this site larger, it's going to look really bad. We haven't dealt with responsiveness, and we might come back and talk about that later. But I just want to keep it kind of simple for right now and just show you all on one page. All right, so the second thing you might notice on this post is that there's no header, okay? It would be nice if there's a header on all of our pages that showed us like what site we're on and allowed us to do that search bar whenever we wanted to. So we can't actually include HTML inside of other index files, okay? So this is one of those things you just have to learn to deal with if you're dealing with like vanilla JS. I don't know why HTML hasn't included a way to like import HTML from other files. You can import like jQuery and do that, but people say that you shouldn't use jQuery these days, so I'm not going to show you that technique. But again, like what you'd actually have to do if you want to achieve that is you would have to go to your header here, and you would actually have to import it on every single page. And now you'll notice that when you do that, the styling for the header is also messed up. So you'd have to make sure and you go and you import all the styling that you need for your header just so that it looks nicer. All right. Now, also you'll notice that the body was not styled too. So it's like I need to make sure I import the style for the body so that the background color is gray. So that is where like external style sheets start helping us out a lot. So what I like to do is for every page, you can maybe make a folder called styles. And inside of that folder, you can start putting some styles, right? Usually the top level style could be called like index.css. And this could be where you put any styles that are like global to your application. So I could put like, if I wanted all my 8 tags to be a certain size, or if I wanted all my paragraph tags to be a certain size, or the font size of my application or the font color, you could style that there. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the body, since that needs to be similar for every single page. We are going to put that in our index.css. In fact, the better name for this, if I rename this to like global, that's probably a better name to use for that. So now what I can do is instead of having to put that styling on the body here of my JavaScript post page, what I could do is I can import it. Right? So something I haven't showed you yet is importing external style sheets, right? So you can type link CSS. So this will basically scaffold out a link for us. This is the full like syntax. We do a link tag. You say rel is style sheet, and then you say href, the location of the style sheet that you want. So in our case, we'll do some relative positioning, or in our case, we'll do a relative path. I will say /styles because we need to go up a level. And then we go to /global.css. All right, so now when I save the page and delete this from the body, you'll see, I haven't really showed you the network tab that much, but you'll see when I refresh the page, it's going to first load javascript.html. And then when it starts parsing through the HTML, it loads in global.css and applies that to our page. If I were to forget to import that external style sheet, notice that the styling is not applied to the body anymore. All right, so what that allows us to do again is we can take the style sheet and we can attach it to every page that we have in our application to get that global style, right? So if I go back and forth between my pages, just make sure the path is correct. I think this needs to be /styles. All right, this is kind of a pain too. Like depending on where your index files are nested in your folders, you have to make sure you have your pathing set up correctly. So that can be kind of cumbersome for a new beginner to remember how to do all this like directory pathing. But now like the body on both of these pages is going to be uniform, okay? They both look exactly the same because they're all sharing a global style sheet. Now, additionally, what I like to do is if you have a particular style that's only for like one page, that's unique to a page, I would make like a javascript.css file, and then I would import that there, and we can kind of style this file however we want. So I would make a JavaScript CSS, and then we probably just import it here and say JavaScript CSS from the correct path. And then we'd probably just, if we needed to, why is that not working? JavaScript CSS. Oh, it's in the same folder, so I could just do, oh, I put that in the wrong folder. Let me put that in styles. So I'm going to go up a level, go to styles, and go to JavaScript CSS. All right, so now it's loading in global CSS and JavaScript CSS, and we can put whatever styles that we want that's kind of unique to this page. Like if I wanted all the H1s to be font size of 20 pixels or something, we could do that. And then it wouldn't affect the styles of our main blog, right? So if I go back, all the H1s are correctly set up because this is loading a separate style sheet where the other one is loading a more unique style sheet. We're probably not actually going to style this page any specifically, at least right now, but just keep that in mind that you can actually split up your style sheets based on pages, and it can kind of help you manage your style sheets. All right, so another thing I want to do is you'll notice that we have this header stuff kind of copied and pasted between the post page and the main page. So it'd be nice if we add another style called like header.css, and we copied and pasted that out into our header and just go ahead and import that. So I'm going to import header here. And again, you could also put that in global.css if you wanted to, but it's really up to you. I'm going to put it inside a header CSS so it's easier to like know which file actually is styling the header. And we need to remember to import that as well from this page, the post page. Okay, so at this point, you can probably start to realize that this is becoming really hard to manage. Like there's a bunch of files created everywhere. We're importing certain files and certain other directories. And I just want to state that like if you're doing a real application, you're probably going to use either server-side rendering or you're going to use some type of React application that helps you do all this for you, right? Like a blog site, you could probably do this with static site, maybe some vanilla JS to make it dynamic. But ultimately, you're going to be doing a lot of extra work by using vanilla JS. But the whole point of this tutorial is just kind of show you and get your feet wet with how you can do this with vanilla JS and just basic static sites. When you finish this whole series, I definitely recommend you start looking into server-side rendering. And I might actually show you a little bit of server-side rendering, but I don't want to go into like using mustache templates or whatever templates. I just want to keep it really basic for you all. Before we move on, let me just go ahead and put a section here. And we are going to just wrap all this stuff in a section so we can add some padding, very similar to how we did it on the other page. So I'm just going to do like class of post content. And in fact, that's actually a good use case for putting it in this JavaScript file here. So I'm going to style post content and I'll say padding is 20 pixels here. And that will make it look a little nicer. Cool. So now we got a little blog page where we can navigate between pages. These links aren't going to work because they're not actually set up to go to any real posts. But hopefully you see the pattern. Like I could just make a new file called, I don't know, react.html. Probably just copy and paste it off of this and then style it how I want. And now link that link up to it. Okay. All right. So in the header, we have like posts and about. I'm actually going to remove those because obviously the posts don't really matter. So this is really painful that I updated the header in one place, but I have to remember to go back and update it over here. So we are probably in the future or pretty soon here, we're going to learn some JavaScript, how we can extract that out into a function that'll kind of inject the header into our pages, just so that we don't have to worry about like copying the same code everywhere. All right, so let's just make it an about page. So I'm going to go ahead and make a page called about HTML. That is going to look very similar to the home page. So what I could do is just copy this out, paste it in, and get rid of all this content here. Going to have a header. We don't need any of those styles, but what we want to have is the global in the header. So I'll say about this blog for our title of our page. And we want a way for the users to be able to get to it, right? So inside the header of all of our components, we need to make sure we put like a about.html inside the link. So now if I were to click this, it takes us to an about page, okay? Let me zoom in as well. But now we also need to remember that we have that header pasted on like 3 pages now. So we got to make sure that we update those 3 pages. Like you can kind of see how like unmanageable this is getting, where if you make a single change to a header in one file, you got to go back and change it in like all your other files. So this is not going to work out that well. And I think we're going to actually start learning a little bit about JavaScript in the next video so that we can actually abstract that away and make it easier to use. I'm just going to copy all this stuff, honestly. You know what? Yeah, I'm just going to totally copy the JavaScript post page and say about this blog here. Change those. Change the title. What is this page all about? Question mark. I think the image is messed up too because we did a relative path here. So let's just go ahead and get rid of a dot. The image will show up. Actually, in fact, we don't really need an image here. All right, so we're making some progress. We have an about page. We have the actual home page. We have the ability to dive into a post and read more about it. There's obviously more that you can add in, and that's really up to you. You could add in like maybe the author of who did the post if you wanted to like manage a blog site with multiple people. You could put like the date time or the timestamp of when this post was created. We're going to try to add some comments later on, but you can take your creativity and, you know, apply it to this site to make it look as nice as you want and add whatever features that you think you can build at this point. But I think before we start getting into a larger page or larger like blog page with an admin panel, we need to start learning a little bit about JavaScript. so that we can kind of abstract that header logic and not have to duplicate it so much. And then additionally, it's going to put us in a better position to learn how to dynamically fetch data. So if you see here, we have like all this stuff just hard coded. And what if down the road you wanted to add a blog post or edit a blog post, right? You'd have to go into all your static files and you'd have to find out where you wanted to edit the files and save it. And then you have to re-upload that to your web server. But if you had some type of admin dashboard that maybe persisted all of this data to a database, you wouldn't have to necessarily go and change all your files. You just have to go to one place, edit a form, click a save button, and then that should get updated in your blog. So that's what we're going to kind of work towards, but I need to first show you JavaScript and the basics of how you can use like variables, for loops, etc.